Alrighty. Hey folks. So it looks like, okay, you can see in the pan, although maybe it's not the most in-focus thing ever, but it exists. So, hi. I'm going to be trying to make Palak paneer from start to finish, so we are actually making the paneer, which personally I find quite exciting because making cheese is fun. But, you know, hopefully it is also delicious. Going for fun and delicious. It's a good, I think those two things go together generally. So I'm kind of hoping that what we're going to do here is make the paneer, and a big part of making cheeses is letting it sit, and in this case get pressed and get all the extra whey and moisture out of it. So that's what I'm kind of banking on, is we can have the cheese pressing and then make the actual, spinach gravy or greens gravy, however you want to phrase that, and then put them all together and make it delicious. This particular recipe that was recommended by a friend has you use spinach, and I'm actually going to do a mixture of greens because that's what I have on hand. So I figured that was a reasonable compromise. We'll see. And the other nice thing I liked about this recipe is a lot of recipes online have you toast the paneer or like brown it on both sides. Okay, good. Thanks for letting me know. Sound and video are good. Glad to hear it. The other good thing about this recipe is that it's going to be soft paneer, and like I like having cubes of soft protein in my food, like soft tofu. I like tofu that's been fried and is ridiculous, but I also really like big, mushy little pieces of tofu mixed in with everything. So, I liked that part of this recipe too. So, let's see. And Twitch, as usual, wants to tell me I can manage everything directly from my phone, so thanks, Twitch. I'll have that there. Okay. So, I have this ginormous pot. I love this pot. And you can see, it's a biggie. It's delightful. And it's way bigger than I actually need for this particular step, but that's good. Better a little too big than a little too small. So first step with making this paneer is I need 8 cups, or about half a gallon, of milk. And fun thing I've been learning about with making cheese is you want to use milk that hasn't been pasteurized into the next century. So if it's something that has a shelf life of 1,000,000 years, you pick it up and it's dated 4 months in the future, that's delightful milk, dip your cookies in it, but that's not going to work for making cheese. You want something that has at least a little bit of living stuff left in it that can then, bond and act correctly. So this stuff, I have to imagine it's pasteurized, but it doesn't even say. Oh yeah, pasteurized. So pasteurized versus ultra pasteurized is basically my gig. I'm also going to be using, for this, so I'm probably going to make a huge mess, this, I found this in the alley. It's a really cool, beautiful measuring cup, and I realized that the reason why it was in the alley is because it dribbles absolutely everywhere when you're trying to pour with it. So, that's okay. It still holds 4 cups, which I sure value. I'm not trying to hold this up to the camera because I don't want to spill, so you guys can imagine what measuring a bunch of milk looks like. So... So, first 4 cups. I did consider just making the entire gallon of milk, but I figure I'll follow the recipe and not tempt fate. So yeah, 8 cups of milk, way too big of a pot. So okay with that. I'll put that guy in the sink. And get the remaining milk back in the fridgie. Let's see. So, I probably will turn the rest of that milk into something, and not just dip cookies in it. Though that is a absolutely vital thing that milk does. Okay. And so they want us on medium heat. And stirring a bunch. So the nice thing about doing 4 cups and not the entire gallon is, of course, this will heat up faster. Less substance for the heat to have to act upon, so less molecules to have to speed up. So we can get that. So while I'm waiting for that to go, I have to get my acid ready. So depending on which cheese recipe you're doing, will call for different forms of acid. I have used vinegar, I have used lemon juice, and I have used literally citric acid. But the acid is what causes the milk to seize up and curdle in this particular setting. So this calls for, I believe, a quarter cup of lemon in a half a cup of warm water. So I have my significantly more practical measuring cup. This guy, when you pour it, doesn't just leak all over the place. It's the little things. So let me get some warm water. Ah, forgot to run my tap for a second, so I'm going to have to do that to get it actually warm. But that's okay. The milk still does not care. That is still 8 cups of cold milk. Let's test my water again. Ah, it works. Okay. So I have half a cup of warm water, and then from my ginormous thing, as soon as I let it settle, it's over half a cup. Clearly I'm not a chemist. My friend Marjorie was on, I'm sure she would admonish me. Alright. There, that's an actual half a cup. So then I add my quarter cup to bring it to 3/4 cup fluid. Woo, math. Alright. So I always have a giant thing of lemon juice if I can possibly help it. I use it for everything. So obviously in cheese making it stands in for an acid. Acid is just useful for cooking everything because it breaks down stuff and it is a flavor enhancer. So that's useful. So I have this ready to go as soon as my pot here decides to do anything. But luckily, that's okay. I figured this would be slow. You do want to agitate the milk. You want to make sure it's not burning to the bottom, things of that sort. So that gives me an excuse to occasionally play with that. In Fun Toys, if you ever want to start making any sort of cheese, what's the name of the group? I should give a shout out to these people. They were nice. Standing Stone Farms. Boom. Nice people. They sell you cheese making things. And one of the things on their website is this guy, which is just like a flat little strainer. I love this thing. This is one of the more heavily utilized things in my repertoire at this point, now that I've got it, because for cheese, you can strain out curds and that's really nice. But for, everything else, it's useful for fishing out like 3 little pieces of pasta and not have them slip through because you're trying to stab it or grab it. It's just a great tool. So if you feel like giving someone money for a neat thing, buy one of these. In this case, I will actually use it for its intended purpose, which will be to strain the curds out of here and strain them out. So a fun thing with making any sort of cheesy type product, whether it's basic cottage cheese or like fancy cheese, is the whole point is you're straining the milk solids and milk fat out of what's effectively protein water, which is whey. And so you get your curds and whey. Little Miss Muffet would be proud. And then you have all this whey left over. And so I've been having a good time trying to figure out what to do with whey this summer. Because with making it hard to go grocery shopping with lockdowns and various rules and things like that, I try to just buy a lot of stuff and then use absolutely everything I've got. Which I probably should have been doing before. but hey, we grow. And so whey can be used as a substitution for buttermilk. And so the number of pancakes and waffles in this household has gone up exponentially, and it's been fantastic. So if you have a way to store it, don't throw away the whey after making this stuff. It's really, really useful for cooking. The internet informs me that one can drink it and or mix it with juice, because as a protein water, it's also really tangy. And I'm like, I don't think I'm there. Like, maybe if somebody else who knew how to make whey juice, I don't know, like, served me a glass, I would trust them. But I don't know the internet. I'm not there. So you can hypothetically use it as a protein source to up your smoothie game. I'll just use it for baking for right now. So, Chardon Mom, I just saw your comment about whole milk. No, you can use lower fat milk. The pasteurization is the bigger issue. So as long as it's not ultra pasteurized milk, lower fat content is okay. And that's why you can even see, like, lower fat cheeses are for sale. Now, a lot of that's because they put filler in it, but, you know, it does work. There's other solids in here that are not just fat. But fat is delicious, and we love fat. So, you know, be kind to fat. Well, the nice news is that the pan now feels warm. Like, I have my hand in here, and I can feel the heat coming off of this. So, but on the, you can't quite see in the feed. On the outside of the pan, I can still see a little bit of condensation. So, I'm not there yet. This is one of those long, slow processes where you don't want to, like, jazz up the heat and really have it go bonkers, because you're much more likely to burn it. I am going to turn it up a little bit, though, because I had it pretty low. You don't want to burn the bottom and then have the top not reacting. That doesn't do you any good. You want your entire solution to be at about the same temperature. So this is a little bit of a process. And then when it goes, it freaking goes. It's so cool. You basically get this up to temperature. It's going to start boiling. You add your acid. It starts to curdle immediately. You turn it off and you have cheese. Like, it's wait, ah! And it just goes. So that part's kind of fun. And it's cool, too, because when you're staring at a big pot of milk that's doing nothing, you're like, oh, did I do it wrong? Is this an error? Things like that. And the answer is no, you're fine. You just, and you'll know the moment it just goes. It's really great. Which, in my taxidermy lab, that is basically effectively how I describe blow-drying bird skins. Different end result. But, obviously. Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting warm. And I'm assuming this will probably take at least 10 minutes. And that's good. That's why I wanted to be talking to people while doing it, because this particular part is a bit boring. I do have stuff already kind of pre-set up for making the actual... I keep referring to it as greens gravy or spinach gravy. There's funny translations when you are trying to describe some other culture's food. And so the greens puree with flavor in it. You know, I don't know if the correct word is to describe it as Palak. Because I know Paneer is the cheese. That one I got. But I do not know enough about the various languages of the subcontinent of India to decide if I want to just say I'm making the Palak. Because that might be an accurate term. So, gravy, I guess. Sauce. But anyway, I've got that stuff set up, and I am going to be making that with a couple of weird substitutions just because what I have. I don't have any spinach, but I have chard, mustard greens, and kale. And since it all gets pureed anyway, the internet also backed me up on this. I do ask the internet questions. I don't straight up trust the internet, but, you know, we talk. So I am going to be making it out of a mixture of other greens. Some of which are actually from my balcony garden, which is cool. Like 6 leaves, but I needed to get exactly the right number. I need 10 ounces of greens, and I was at like 9. So I chucked a few extra leaves on top of that. Alright, that's starting. There's a little bit of movement in the pot. I don't think my camera can quite pick that up, but there's, you know how like really cold stuff just sort of sits there, but when it's warm, there's just a little bit more activity. It's not boiling, it's not bubbling. But there is something happening here. Ooh, and I can feel when I'm scraping the spoon along the bottom, it's starting to stick on the bottom a little bit, so it means I should be stirring it. So, alrighty. And I know Chardon Mom was planning on following along with some of this. Are you making the cheese too, or are you just going to make the veggie part? Because for anybody who doesn't want to do this part, you can totally buy pre-made paneer. It comes in little packs. It's delightful. So I'm choosing to make it from scratch, but you don't have to. I mean, honestly, you can just get takeout, but you know, there's levels. There's multiple steps here. And actually, while I'm waiting for this too, dear moderator, how is my video feed this time around? Because I have Sudanine on here. Okay, cool. Chardon Mom, cool for you. Hey, we hit pretty decent. I'll take pretty decent. Alright, good for you, Chardon Mom. We're cooking together. It's delightful. Many, many miles apart. Do you think yours is ever going to boil? Because I don't know. Mine might never. I no longer have condensation on the pot. And the whole thing seems like it might actually be warm. So. Maybe still not warm enough to make hot chocolate. But, you know, definitely not warm enough for cheese yet. So the other, cheese, okay, sorry to hear it is jittering a little bit. I am on the Wi-Fi, and we seem to be having some signal problems, but hopefully it's still coming through enough that it's fun to watch. So other weird cheeses that I've made this summer. The first thing I made was cottage cheese, and that was a mistake. I had half a gallon of milk that went funky on me. I didn't intend to make anything out of it. I intended to, like, use it as milk. And it was that sort of thing where you open it and it went, shh. Okay, Chardon Mom's ahead of me. I'm almost there. So if you get ahead of me, go nuts. You know, make sure, don't wait if your pot is already boiling to move on to the next step of adding your lemon juice. I'm not quite there yet. No, Sudani, don't worry about it. I don't want more wires in here. I'll trip. Because, man, I'm going to be walking back and forth a lot. But anyway, so I ended up making cottage cheese out of slightly soured milk, so it wasn't bad, but you open the top of the milk container and went, shh, which is not like a noise. Milk shouldn't make noise. That turned out really well. It did not taste anything at all like store-bought cottage cheese, even slightly. But it was good, and it made really nice breakfast. But yeah, Mom, you might want to get ready to actually make yours if you haven't. Because the instructions on here are basically boil the milk in a heavy-bodied saucepan over medium heat, stirring occasionally, make sure not to burn. As the milk comes to a boil, add lemon juice gradually, stir the milk gently. The curds will start separating from the whey, and then turn off the heat. So, pretty straightforward stuff there. Emphasis on the gently. You don't want to, like, whip apart all the curds. The whole point is to actually get them to coalesce. So if you're, like, madly whisking it or something like that, you're going to end up with a weird consistency paste. Which might work. I don't know. Maybe that's a different sort of cheese. I can see that being somebody else's thing. All right. Chardon Mom is already adding juice. Good luck. Please give an update. I am now steaming, so I'm basically there. But I'm excited to hear how yours works out. Very, very close. Yeah, and I'm starting to get a little bit of the frothiness. I'm like 3 or 5 minutes behind you. So, following that little Standing Stone cookbook, I also made queso blanco, which didn't taste like queso blanco that I would normally buy to put on my tacos. I think it was this. I think I effectively made I made paneer because it was dense and smooth, which is not really what I think of with queso blanco as much. I probably also needed to salt it more. Whereas paneer, you want that kind of like smooth little chunko. So. So close. I can definitely feel it sticking to the bottom. So, Shard Mom, I keep wanting to ask you for updates, but I know that the part you're in is very hands-on. So I will just continue to say, good luck, rah-rah. I hope it's coming together nicely. Please don't burn yourself. Should be pretty good. So some types of cheese recipes have really specific heats that temperatures you have to get it up to. This one's just like, when it boils, you're good, because of course a boiling temperature is a pretty consistent number. Other ones want you to actually cook it for a while, so those are a little different. Mozzarella is all weird. If you make quick mozzarella, it involves microwaving it. I haven't yet done that. It is on my list of I just totally want to do it. I don't know if I could stream that one just because it's a lot of in and out of the microwave and dealing with really hot stuff. And I will be honest, I don't think I'd want to be as distracted. So we'll see. I might do, might not. I'm gonna go ahead and turn up my heat just a little bit because I'm getting antsy. I don't know about you. The other weird thing you need for cheese making is some sort of cloth to pour it through. All right, teeny chunks. Teeny chunks are good. The big thing that you want to look for with your teeny chunks is if you move them aside, is there like a yellowish green clearish liquid underneath, because that's the way. So even if the chunks themselves are unattractive and uninteresting, as long as they are distinct from the whey, you have won. You have done the thing. So I'm so excited to hear how yours turned out. I hope it's great. Guys, I think I bored my milk. I don't know, it's not doing much. Come on, man. I got other things to work on. I got veggies waiting for me. I had to make a minor substitution with the curry because it took a green chili, and all of my fresh green chilies right now are poblanos, which are, a little spicy, and they taste good. So I'm going to use half a poblano instead of one green chili, which I could see as being any number of like thin hot peppers. So I have to just widget that a little bit, but that's okay. I'm not too worried. This is another one where I as much as I want to get the recipe right and I want to follow the intention of the original recipe writer, you can tweak. I think the spice is the important thing, and I had to go out and actually buy a special spice. But we will get into that a little bit more later. Alright. Man, maybe I'm more like 5-7 minutes behind you. Come on, milk. I need you hot. Do the thing. It smells good, though. Now it actually smells like nice warm milk. Drinking warm milk before bed just, straight is grody. I don't like that one. But I have found ways to make that work because, of course, you can add cocoa powder to it, and then it's still warm milk. We also make hot vanilla. So you warm up the milk, add a little bit of sugar and vanilla, and that is really good. Because there is something in the... I think it's in the lactose. Some property of milk, when warmed up, actually literally does aid sleep. So I wouldn't just drink warm milk straight. I've tried it. It's gross. But adding a little bit of vanilla or cocoa is good. Sadly, of course, adding alcohol and making some sort of drink is not actually good for your sleep because alcohol disrupts sleep, even though it makes you drowsy, which is massively unfair because I also know how to make a warm milk toddy that is real good, but, you know, it has rum in it, so. I believe it's Norwegian. I forget where that recipe came from. Okay, mine is now at the warm and frothy phase, so we should get there momentarily. And then, of course, Chardon Mom, if you have any updates, I super want to know. Oh, it's so close. It's like wiggling. So like, it's not boiling. I don't know if you can see that in the feed. Not really, but it's wiggling. Interesting. It should be about there. You might want to... Okay, so if you're just getting little curds but not a lot of whey, try turning the heat back on. Because you might have to stimulate the reaction a little bit. I was actually surprised how much water you add. That one took me a little bit by surprise. But, so that might have an effect. If you use something like actual citric acid, you do, of course, you get citric acid in a powder form, and then you have to add a little bit of water to it, but man, that causes it to seize up real fast. That's weird stuff. Oh, it's wiggling. It wants to be doing something. Come on, friend, we have other things to do. I have spinach to blend. Can't be all about the milk today. I think part of my error is I considered trying to like pour the water, or I'm sorry, the milk in here to begin with and let it warm up to room temperature, and then I didn't because I was doing other setup, and heating it up from refrigerator cold is going to extend my time. Oh, we're getting wiggle. I don't know how much you can. Yeah, it's wiggling on this side, but not on this side as much. Come on, little friend. Okay, so to confirm, as it comes to a boil, add lemon juice gradually, stir gently. Curds will start separating from the whey, then turn off the heat. So, okay, I think we might be there. Chardon Mom, you've got me a little paranoid, so I'm gonna let this like rolling boil. You can see it though. Yeah, there's movement in that video camera now. So that is looking good. Okay. So I'm gonna start adding my lemon juice. And just nice and gradual. Let the acid reach lots of different parts of the milk, not just like one area, so I have to start all apart kind of thing. Ooh, it's bubbly. Ooh, that got really bubbly. Oh, okay, there we go. Alright. So mine separated immediately. You can see the weird liquidy whey. So I am going to turn mine off. So yeah, this, where's the camera? The camera sees best over here. Okay, so you can see how there's different chunks, where there's this clearly kind of open area here, and then this mess. That's it. That's all I need. I don't need to stir it anymore. It is done. So, Chardon Mom, I think wherever you're at, maybe cut the heat and let's stop. Okay, so it looks like I might need to turn down the resolution on my feed. This is an okay moment. I'll let this sit for a second and mess with that. Sorry if I'm stuttery. Oh, it looks like I cannot change my feed resolution while I'm on it. So we'll do that when I break to change projects. So, okay, so I have separated curds and whey. I don't know why Little Miss Muffet would want to eat this. It looks sort of grody to me, but, you know. So I have my cheesecloth. And yes, this was a funny conversation I had with a friend. They hadn't really absorbed the fact that cheesecloth was for making cheese. Cheesecloth is what you do weird crafts with, for like little Halloween ghosts and all manner of things. Cheesecloth is just useful stuff. So it's a cotton muslin, but you also can make cheese with it. So heads up, y'all. Cheesecloth is a cooking thing. So I have taken my bowl. So I have just a metal bowl. And I've put my cheesecloth into it, and I'm going to spoon my curds into this, and then I'm going to have to go to the sink and rinse it. So that is where I am at. And I'm doing this instead of just dumping it directly. You can just have a colander in the sink and just throw it through the colander and let the whey drain away down the sink. Again, I want to use my whey, so I'm not doing that, but both are totally valid. It just depends what end result you want. Oh yeah, that's some just curds. Like, big chunko. It looks like cottage cheese, because it effectively is cottage cheese. So, I love this spoon thing. Cheese strainer. And of course, doing this way is much slower than just chucking it down the sink. But, yeah. I probably will do a second round where I actually pour the remaining whey through a colander into a bowl. But I might do that later. Because I don't really want cheese chunkos in my whey either. I would like my whey pure whey. Okay. So Chardon Mom, I hope yours came out to some satisfactory degree. I'm really happy with mine. And all sorts of things can affect it. The type of milk, the ambient humidity, we're in that kind of realm. What type of lemon juice you used, if it was actually really acidic or if it was like a milder one. So, cheese making, it's like weird chemistry. Oh, and I did finally make butter the other day. I've always heard about making butter as something where, like, little kids can do it, where you just put butter in you put cream in a mason jar that's not quite full and just shake it until it becomes butter. And I had a little bit of cream that was just a little old. It wasn't bad, I was like, this has been sitting around. I gotta use it or not, use it or lose it. And so I threw that stuff in a mason jar and I wandered around my apartment shaking it. And I got buttered. It was actually really cool. So you can do that. Okay. I've gotten the vast majority of my big chunkos. Oh, now I say that and I get a nice big one. Yeah, I'm going to have to pour the rest of this through a strainer. Get the good bits. I actually recently used up the last of my old whey by making waffles. So. Okay. That now actually looks like the last of the big chunks. So, what I gotta do is gather up my cheesecloth, which by the way is reusable. So FYI there. So I'm gonna get a nice little compact dude. Let's see, where's the best? Aha, there we go. So I'm gonna go give this a rinse. You actually rinse it to wash the curds off. They're gonna have enough structure since they're basically fat, they're hydrophobic, the water will come off of them. So it'll rinse the lemon juice off and make sure that this has a sweeter taste and not a sour taste. So I'm gonna go do that real quick. And then, now that I'm at this point, I don't think you guys can see me, but hopefully you can hear me. You just have to squeeze the extra water out. It's actually a smaller portion than I was imagining. Hopefully it'll be enough to actually make, you know, Palak Paneer that is also yummy. Probably. Maybe I should have made the whole guy. You know? As it turns out. Alright, so after a good squeezing, I have this adorable little ball. Very, very cute. It's like a cup. I think the recipe actually called for a cup and a half, so I'm vaguely annoyed that the recipe I got off of the same site made me a little bit less. Oh, hey, okay. Good job, Chardon Mom. Glad to hear that it came together. Weird chemistry. So hopefully you'll get to this point in the not too distant future. Yeah, because as soon as you see those large curds, you're like, I did it. That is now a thing. So, delightful. Okay. Okay, so now what we have to do is take this little guy and press it. So this is actually the longer step. You want this to press for a while. Oh, I forgot to put the plate up. So to press it, I have a plate. So put my little friend on a little plate. And then you actually want to put a heavy weight on top of this. And so for this, it'll be over here out of camera view for practical reasons. So, but I am covering the whole little guy in a piece of saran wrap. And then my weight today will be my tortilla press. It's a big, beautiful chunk of wood. And so this will be my weight to push the remaining fluid out of there. So ooh. It's also fairly balanced. Okay. So that guy's now over there pressing, and so you're supposed to press it for about an hour. We might not do that much. I'm gonna be making the Palak sauce, and we'll see how that goes. So I am going to take I'm going to take a 5-ish minute break so that I can move my camera over to my other surface so you guys can watch me assemble the veggies and stuff. And I'm going to strain my curds, which is something I have to do over the sink and you guys can't see anyway. So I'll be back in probably less than 10 minutes, around 5. So I'll see you guys in just a minute. Okay, I am back. Hello. Oh, good. And actually, that view is not too shabby. So I also was able to strain the rest of the curd and got I don't know, like a tablespoon more cheese out of it. So that was pretty cool. Okay, so I have all of my stuff set up here for all the different ingredients I have to work on. And behind me, back on the stove, I actually have some water that I'm going to blanch all of my greens in. So that's heating up right now. But while that's going, I have the rest of the stuff over here. So I mentioned before, my greens are a mixture of a whole ton of black kale, also called Tuscan kale, also called dinosaur kale. Common names are fun. I've got my, 6 mustard green leaves and a bunch of chard. So this is what the stuff I'm using instead of spinach. Seems like that's totally copacetic, so I'm just going to be doing that. And then the recipe also calls for a tomato, which I had never seen before, and I think it's pretty fun. Pepper and ginger, and then a whole ton of spices. So I will be working on all of those. So while I'm waiting for my water to heat up, it's funny, blanching stuff, you have to both heat stuff up real hot, for a limited amount of time, and then cool it off immediately. So after I boil my spinach or my greens for a second, then I have to throw them in ice water. So we'll be jumping around playing with that in a moment. So while that is warming up, okay, I just tried to do something funny. I have my basic notes about what I'm cooking on this little notepad that a friend made me, and I tried to scroll up because I'm cool. I live on the internet. It's a magic place. So the tomato, that's the one thing I'm a little less certain about. The recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup, so not a actual whole ton. I forgot I got my cup measurer out. So let me get that. Oh man, I'm reminded by facing the side of my kitchen that I've got iced tea. So I'll take that for a second. Sorry. Reed is hungry. I'm getting applesauce. Okay. So this is... it might be 3/4 of a cup. Especially if I de-seed it. We'll find out. Funky spot. And they just want it diced. And I did watch the original recipe creator's YouTube video on this. And she left them as chunks. You can actually see the chunks of tomato at the end, which somewhat surprised me, but sure, okay. I would eat that. So, play with that. And then I briefly saw that somebody on a Discord channel that I'm on thought it was cool and had not been on Twitch before, so Hannah, I don't know if you're still on. But hey, remember you can always text. So that's the cool thing with Twitch versus I don't know, Zoom, things like that where people can talk, because obviously if I'm too distracted while hanging out with big knives, I'm gonna cut myself and I don't really want to do that. But this way you guys can chat with me and I feel less alone while I'm doing this absurdly complicated cooking project. So hey, thanks. And then Chardon Mom, I want to check it back in with you. Were you able to get your cheese squeezed? Was it a cute little ball of cheese? So I'm pretty happy with mine. I think that's going to turn out pretty okay. I'm glad I went back and got the extra tablespoon of cheese that I had left behind in the floating in the way, because I think I'm going to want that. Alright, so this is supposed to be diced, so get this pretty fine now that I've got it more or less cored. And these don't really cook down, so I did want to make sure I had my tomatoes actually fairly fine. Because Palak Paneer, again, I associate it with being the smooth gravy with the big soft chunks of paneer in it, so I don't want the tomato to be too aggressive. No one likes an aggressive tomato. I've heard. I mean, if there's an aggressive tomato liker out there, I suppose let me know. But I figure having them as little pieces, they're just going to be kind of part of the whole feel. Ooh, it sounds like my water is simmering, so I'll turn that down. Alright, so that's ready for my greens. I don't want to do the greens until I'm done chopping this. They simmer for such a short amount of time, I don't want my attention to be too split. That's an easy trap to fall into when I'm doing things that require so many steps that are distinct. Like, oh, I could just have that working while I'm doing this thing. And that's how I burn things. Not that I've done that. Alright, Chardon Mom says, cheese ball is crunched under the cast iron while working on spinach. Heck yeah, that's another great use for cast iron. A nice flat weight that you can put on there. I love that. So, I know Chardon Mom knows how to use cheesecloth, not for cheese making per se, but I have had her sidets, which is a Slovakian egg dish that you basically cook eggs in a very similar way, as much as you can have a similarity between eggs and milk, until it's, like a thick paste, and then you strain it forever, hanging it in cheesecloth, and it's way good. So, cheesecloth, again, remarkable stuff. Make food with it. Okay, so I have these. I like cutting up Roma tomatoes because it sort of looks like peppers, which I also like. I actually think I got the most perfect tomato for this, and I'm real happy. Because when I was making my ratatouille last week, I had so much extra veggies. I had a ton of extra eggplant, and I had some extra tomato. And this is looking pretty good. Yeah, so that's it's a pretty straightforward 3/4 cup. Sweet. Okay, cool. So for anybody who watched me repair things the other day, this is one of the bowls that I repaired on Thursday. It seems to be holding together. I gave it a good wash. And so now I'm going to be adding my chopped up stuff to it so I can get my cup measuring back. Let's get rid of this. Actually, you know what? I should have a bowl for scraps, which is not going to be a lot. Actually, okay, we'll do two first. So this is another bowl that I repaired. This will be, actually I have a swap. This one can be stuff that I'm using. This little guy can be scrap because there's not as much. Okay, so yeah, I'm glad to have those bowls back. It's real fun. Okay, so since my water is boiling, I'm gonna pause this step and go and work on my blanching. So let me just confirm on here. Alright, blanch the spinach. This helps keep the spinach color bright. To blanch the spinach, boil about 6 cups of water in a saucepan, then let the spinach boil for 1 minute. Drain the water and put the spinach in ice cold water for about 2 minutes, and then drain that. So that reminds me I had meant to get ice out, so this will be somewhat loud. So I have my very generous amount of ice. I'm going to add water to this too. You don't want to just throw anything on pure ice because there'll be air gaps which act as an insulator. So you'll have your food touching ice, which is the right temperature of being cold, but also then these gaps where it's not hot enough. The water will keep everything moving and equalize the temperature better. So I'll add some cold water to this. Alright, so I have simmering water and an ice bath, so I have my two extremes. And have my tongs. So let me see, can I move this camera enough? Yeah, it's not bad. Alright, so you guys can see at least when I'm over there doing a little bit. I'll take my bountiful leaves and go over here. Yeah, that's not the worst. Okay, so I've got my simmering water. I'm actually turning it up a little bit since I'm right here. I turned it down when I wasn't managing it because that's a good idea. And it looks like an absurdly small amount of water for such big foofy things with leaves, but it should work. So I'm going to get these guys in here for their 1 minute. My timer says that it is 11:54, so by 11:56 I should have everything have gone in and out of this. Okay, so that's round 1. Oh yeah, that color immediately brightens up. Blanching is fun. Whoop, come back, little leaf. Give that guy a rinse in a moment. Almost got all this in the pot. So spinach, of course, is a little bit easier to work with, just because it's softer. It's in the same broad family as all of these different leaves that I have, but these other ones are much fiberier. Keep throwing leaves on the ground. Okay, we're at 11:55. So as soon as that says 11:56, I'm pulling these guys out. But I successfully fit all of those greens into this one little pan, so I feel really good about that. And I'm just trying to turn it and make sure they're all actually in the water. This is where, again, having the more structured leaves is a little tougher because the kale still has enough structure, it's kind of standing up. Whereas if this was pure spinach, it would just give up and moosh out. But that's okay. I respect its conviction. Alright, we're at 11:56, so I'm going to turn the heat off and immediately start transferring my greens, my drippity greens, over here to my ice. Yep, that smells like boiled spinach. It's so funny how, like, food that I really like is often made out of things I don't. Like, boiled spinach is nasty. Boiled spinach is a punchline of a bad joke. Or like a punishment. I don't know. But I love Palak Paneer and Shad Paneer, so yes, of course I like this. I just have to get through this step. But then again, if you've ever made broth is basically hot garbage, so, I don't know. Delicious things in big places. The little bit of water that I have left in here is now bright red. You guys can't see it on the video, but because the chard I had was technically red chard, so it did leave a little bit of color behind, which is kind of cool. I usually try to save this sort of water to water my plants. Just, you know, it's nutrient-rich water that I don't really want to eat. So I will make my plants eat it. Alright, so let me bring this guy over. And poke this back down. Alright, so you can see I've got ice and greens. Yum. This is my next potluck dessert. It is not. And it feels cold at this point, so that's really good. That's exactly what I'm going for. And so in a separate bowl, and get my greens out, because you don't want them to be super sodden and cold either, so you actually want to gently squeeze them, get the water back out. And at this stage, if you would notice that the greens are still warm when you pick them up, put them back in the ice water. Like, they should feel like you're only squeezing ice water out of them. So if they don't, pop them back in the ice water. I think because the kale is so bumpy, it's real good at holding fluid. So, ooh, this water is cold. Good job me, I guess. Yay. This is somewhat unpleasant. But, you know. Shard Mom, I just saw your note that you've never worked with ginger root before and your fingers smell good. Yay! It's better than boiling spinach smell, right? I've been trying to have ginger root around a little bit more this year because it's one of those things that when I have a recipe that calls for it, it is always the better choice than trying to use dried ginger. Like, always, always, always. If you have something that calls for dried ginger, like, you know, cookies, I have used fresh ginger for those. It's, you know, it's fine. It's an interesting difference, but it's not a big deal. But if you're making, like, a stir-fry or a curry or something that calls for fresh ginger and you try to sub out, it's just, no. It is only sadness. And then, I also like just making ginger tea. Although we discovered an interesting thing, the iced tea that I'm drinking right now is flavored with some of the fresh ginger root, but it's not amazing. It's fine. You can, like, if it's unflavored, I can taste, unsweetened, I can taste the ginger, but only as the barest hint, because if you're making ginger into ginger tea, you actually have to cook it. You have to, like, boil it in the water, so just steeping it with your tea leaves so does not work. You get weak tea, man, and no one likes weak tea. So, alright, that's... every time I'm like, oh, I'm done, I always find some additional thing I've got to actually use. So I don't think I want to try to get every little leaf fragment out of here right now. But, alright. Yeah, that's pretty dry. That's pretty good. So I'm going to get this guy out of the way. Once the ice melts, I might pick some more of the leaves out of there, but we'll see. Alright, so that can hang out for a minute. I need to finish chopping up the rest of my fresh stuff. So Shard Mom's ahead of me on this. Sounds like you're already doing ginger. I did not have a little green chili. I have this kind of moderately sized poblano, so I'm going to use half of this guy. So I'm just going to pull one of these. And I figured that's, I think, because they didn't really give a measurement on this. I really prefer it when recipes give me at least a volume measurement, if not a weight. For green chili, they didn't. They were just like, you know, oh, chili. So I figure half a poblano will get the point across. Ooh, although fun things I did with chilies recently, I made taqueria-style pickles, where you pickle carrots and jalapenos and onions together. And that's stuff that you'll see in a lot of Mexican taquerias in some sort of ginormous vat up by the checkout. And man, they're really good. If you have not tried those pickles but you've seen them, next time definitely make sure you have some, because it's so absolutely delicious. And mine were really good. I actually didn't have as many jalapenos as the recipe called for, so it's a little carrot heavy, which is a funny thing to say. But they were pretty good. Okay, so that looks like a pretty good amount. Put that off of there. And so if I recall, I'm going to double check this, the chilies and the ginger go in with the spinach. Yeah, blend spinach, ginger, and green chili. Okay, cool. So that means that these are not going in my other little bowl. I'm just going to chuck it in with my greens. And I'm going to feel good about that. Alright, so there. And then for the ginger, I grab this little knob. I need a tablespoon. So I'm going to eyeball this, but like, there's a tablespoon. So I'm going to trim off this dry side. Because, ew. I've seen lots and lots of ways that people get the skin off of ginger root. I don't know if anybody on the feed has a particular favorite. I'm just going to slice it off and be somewhat lazy here. You can obviously use a vegetable peeler. I've also seen on the internet people just use a spoon. Just kind of like abrade it with a spoon. Which seems cool, but I don't know. Maybe it's too good to be true. Maybe it's actually true. Couldn't say. Have not tried it, but it's on the list. Okay, so that's a nice little knob of clean ginger. I'm gonna call that a tablespoon and not worry about it too much. So, oh, thank you. Shardon Mama, he should probably have seen that. Hey, Pseudonym, did you see you got a compliment on the channel? Okay. So, tablespoon, I think it's just, like, chopped, because it's going to get blended, so. This is one of those things that I'm always somewhat surly about for no particularly good reason, is when you have to pre-chop things before putting them into a blender or food processor. Like, I feel like my blender or food processor should be able to handle this step, but it doesn't. You end up with weird little chunks. And I have a pretty good food processor and a really good blender, and I just have to get over myself on that. So it's better to just, you know, understand that you gotta help the machine along a little bit. It's a hard-working kitchen device. It doesn't need my sass. Now, I've had bad blenders. That's a little different. Bad blenders can't blend, like, strawberries. But, okay. Now this is fluffy, this will probably look silly. Yeah, it's like a generous tablespoon. Good enough. Ha! Okay. Cooking. There we go. Okay. Oh, you're right. Shard Mom was saying that they have a very handsome helper. Well, mine's good too. So, yay. The world is full of wealth. Okay. So, I got this stuff together, and so I believe the next step is loud. I'm going to double check on here. So, yeah, blend until it's creamy but not pasty. So, cool. So I have my loud kitchen device here. And so I am going to blend it here. Hopefully it's not the big pain in the butt, but you guys can preemptively turn your volume down. I'm not going to be explaining a lot while this is running. So if you don't want to listen to my food processor make food processor noises, which I respect, you can feel free to do that. Okay. Man, come back, buddy. I'm getting weird bits all over my countertops. That's okay. Okay. Alright, so be ready to mute the feed if you don't want to listen to this. Here I go. I'm going to scrape down the sides real quick, but this is actually looking already pretty good. Oh wow, it smells fresh. That's nice. So already with the addition of the chilies and the ginger, this doesn't just smell like boiled greens anymore. It's got a different fresh smell. Alright, I'm turning it back on again if you want to mute. That looks pretty okay. Alright, I think I'm done blending, so that's pretty okay. I like that. Alright. So this is another one that's going to be different since I'm not using spinach. Spinach would just be a creamy paste. This has obvious little chunkos left in it, and I'm okay with that. I think it's actually going to come out perfectly fine. But, okay. So, next up, let's see. So I'm gonna, okay, so the recipe has you soak your paneer in hot water. I'm not gonna do that. It's basically there. It's already a soft texture and things like that. So Shard Mom, I don't know if you jumped ahead on that, but I think that's, I'm gonna skip that step. I think my paneer is gonna be soft enough. Whereas if you're buying store-bought or working with something out of the fridge, it's gonna be denser, it's gonna be drier. And so this step I think would be a little more important. I'm just gonna skip that. So next up is cooking the spinach. And it says it will potentially splatter, so I'm going to put my apron on. And this is the silliest thing, but there it is. Yes, I have an apron with my name on it that I got from a team building exercise at a job I had at a web design company, which I think is kind of delightful. So there we go. But t-shirt is new. I don't want splatters on it, so I'd rather cover it up and not have that happen. So I'm going to have to... So basically it has you add cumin and the asafoetida, then the tomatoes, then the other spices. So I'm going to pre-mix the other spices just so they're like ready to roll. I don't want to have to do that one at a time or think about it too much. So I'm going to measure that stuff out here. Put that to the side. Okay, so for my other spices is coriander, turmeric, red chili powder, salt, sugar, which is a lot of stuff. So I need to do coriander. Everything is like, well, not everything. It's a lot of half teaspoons of things. So bring over all my dudes. So coriander is actually a full teaspoon, so that's going to be a major flavor here. Alright, good enough. Boop. Alright. So coriander, turmeric is 1/4 teaspoon. I did have to dig a little bit to actually find all my different fractional teaspoon measurements. I'm really glad I have them. Turmeric. Half a teaspoon of chili powder. It's funny reading how other people annotate things. The person who put this recipe together specified red chili powder, and immediately I'm like, are there other colors? And of course it's India. I'm sure there's all manner of really cool stuff, but this is the one that she specified. This lid is being somewhat annoying. There we go. Alright, how much chili powder? Half a teaspoon. And it was interesting in this recipe too, if people haven't clicked over to it, she gives a lot of the different spices, both the Indian term and the American English term, which I appreciate. Half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of sugar. Get that out of there. Actually, you know what? I'm measuring the salt not over my bowl because I've had it just come rolling out. Kind of like when you suddenly have the ice hit you in the face when you're drinking out of a cup. I don't need that in my day. And half a teaspoon of sugar. Alright. I thought about, potentially being cool and pre-measuring everything, but that's kind of the point of doing this, is I didn't want to do a ton of work ahead of time. So, I'm good. Okay. So, to confirm on my recipe, coriander, turmeric, chili powder, salt, sugar. Fantastic. That's exactly where I want to be. So, I have those pre-mixed here, and that's just ready to go. And so I think I'm going to have to move back over here. This is pulled off. Bits. Alright, so that will go to the plants. The recipe calls for a big pan to reduce splatter because you explicitly don't want to cover it. And so usually if I'm making something splattery, I'll put a lid kind of half on it to protect my person. But the recipe was very clear that she didn't want you to do that. So, alright, hunky dory. Guess I will sacrifice the well-being of my physical person. I don't know. What we do for food. Okay. So I'm going to see if we can not move absolutely everything. Sorry for nausea cam there. But what if that turns over there? So this webcam that's wobbling around right now has an absurdly long cable on it. And I just want to see if I can abuse that. Not the worst. Yeah, okay, we're going to try this. So then I don't have to do a full pause and move absolutely everything because that's a pain in the butt. So that means you'll be looking at the back of my head a little bit, but I think that's okay. So I need a little bit of oil. Actually, I might need to move the mic. You know, I'm going to move the mic closer over there. So that'll be two things with absurdly long cables that can reach, but I'll leave my laptop over here where it's safe. Hypothetically safe. Alright, I'm assuming you guys can still hear me. Okay, so it's basically put the goo... So heat the oil in a saucepan over medium-high heat. Test by adding the cumin seeds to the oil. When they crack, it's ready. So it's actually cumin seeds, asafoetida, tomatoes, and then the spice mix, then the spinach. So it's a bunch of different steps. So I believe it's it's 1 tablespoon of oil. So she doesn't specify what oil, so I'm just going to go with a neutral, classic canola oil. Figure that works out. Oop. And then, Chardon Mom, how are you doing? Are you guys already cooking stuff? Are you ahead of me because you're not talking? That would seem fair. And so cumin is going to be my thing, so that's half a teaspoon of cumin. So I have that ready to go once my oil heats up a little. So let that warm up a smidge. So cumin seeds, and then the asafoetida is 1/8 of a teaspoon, which I do have, which is very exciting. How often, other than making like gingerbread, do you really get to use 1/8 of a teaspoon for anything? Okay, you just started cooking. Okay, yeah, we're in the same general area. I feel good about that. I really like recipes that have you toast a spice first. That's like signaling that the recipe is legit. Or if they have you brown or toast nuts before you add them into something, it just makes such a huge difference. One of the breakfasts that I've been having this summer has been chopped dates tossed in powdered maple candy. Thanks, Chardon Mom, for that stuff. With pecans that have been pan toasted and then tossed on top. So you obviously don't really want like hot things in your yogurt. That's not necessarily good. But having them still a little bit warm and then they've been just recently toasted and the flavor is so much better than just having them just as like chopped pecans. So, okay, so that looks nice and hot. So I need 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. Man, these lids keep giving me hassle. This one even has a pour spout, but I think I've never used it. There we go. But like, you know, it's got the little thing. It wants me to be able to pour it, but it also has to be really hard to open. It builds character, I suppose. All right. Boop. Man, okay, that oil's already hot. You can hear those snapping a little bit. That's good. Let's see, which stirrer do I want? Get this stirrer. So I'm supposed to wait till these crack, which I think it might already be at. Oh, that immediately smells good. Cumin smells good. So kind of a fun thing with this recipe is it does not contain alliums. Turns out that one of the many, many religions present in India is Jainism, which has a lot of fairly strenuous... Okay, yeah, that's ready to go. A lot of strenuous rules, and among those is that you cannot eat alliums. So alliums are like onions and garlic. And so there's no allium in this. The flavor that most mimics that is the asafoetida, which does have a definite, like, oniony smell, but is apparently not in that family, and so is okay if you follow that particular strict lifestyle. So, cool. Oh, it immediately smells good. Okay, so this is pretty hot. I've already turned it down a smidgy, so I'm going to add my tomatoes right away. I think it's ready to go. Oh, I was satisfied. All right. Whew. Calm down there, kid. I hope that plume of smoke was satisfying for you guys, because, man, that looks cool on this one. Wow, that's a strong smell. Okay, that's good. This smells like food. This smells like I'm doing something cool. I may have overcooked the cumin just a little bit. I think I waited a little too long. So in the feed, you can kind of see them as little black specks. I knew I cooked it too much. One moment.
Oh yeah, we gotta do something.
Oh, it's set. Wow.
We need the exhaust fan, which is out in the hallway.
Yeah.
Okay. So I put up your BRB message.
Yeah. Or I could have done it, but...
Just a minute, folks. We're okay, but just a sec.
Okay, that was too funny. Yeah, no, that plume definitely knocked out at least 3 of our fire detectors, so it's real good to know those work. Super proud that the system works, and that was funny. So I have obviously turned off the heat on that while we were running around opening windows and things of that nature. I do have an exhaust fan on, just for a minute. We'll let it just make sure to clear, so there will be a little bit of extra noise. But
Probably leave. I've got it on max. You can probably leave it on like the low setting
sure.
for a minute.
So, all right. That was funny. Okay, well, yeah, I do think I got my oil too hot. Since we freaked out the fire alarms. Shard Mom, sorry to hear that you had the same thing. Pretty funny. But hey, okay, again, I'd rather know that it's safe. So I think I can go back to working on this, and there will just be a little bit extra fan noise, which, fine, you know, safety, etc. So I've got, the tomatoes are definitely good. And so now I add the rest of my spice mix and then the spinach. And I will be cooking the spinach for 5 to 6 minutes on low heat. So, alright. So turning this back up. Not quite as high. Get my spices in there. Yeah, that pan's still pretty hot. I can hear it sizzling still. Okay, well, Shard and Mom, I'm interested to hear if either of us have obviously burnt tastes to our food, or if the greens just obliterate anything. Honestly, it still smells good. Like, that's the thing I'm not worried about, is this is not like a pan of char. So, there may be a smoky essence, but that's not the worst thing that one can have. Alright. That's good. And then the greens. And then, Shard and Mom, were you using just spinach, or were you also going for a weird mixed green approach? Because I'm interested to see if your texture is noticeably different. That's my assumption, but I haven't actually done this, so I wasn't 100%. I lost my stir burger. Oh yeah, this already looks good. Yeah, because mine is really dry. You can see it's very chunky, which makes sense because there's a lot of other wetter ingredients that are coming. So I'm not too concerned. So this is 5 or 6 minutes on lower heat. Forgot about that. So it is 12:27. So 5 minutes from now would be 32. So we'll see how this guy does. Oh yeah, it's actually already starting to release some fluid, so it's getting moisture as the spinach starts to cook. Okay, just spinach, cool. Then I'm really interested to see yours, how yours cooks down differently. Okay, well that's exciting. Okay, so that's going. So one of the things it wants is flour, and I have a vague recollection flour is supposed to be mixed with water. Yeah, okay. So, cook. So you want to mix the flour to a half a cup of water, and then add the spinach with the cream. So I'm going to get my half a cup of water measurer. Okay. So I've got my half cup of water, and a tablespoon of flour. We don't eat gluten here for various intestinal joy reasons, and so I have been doing online shopping for groceries where you pick out everything you want ahead of time, and then someone brings it all out to your car. but then they make substitutions. And one of the substitutions they got was this stuff. This is nasty. This stuff doesn't work very well for a lot of things. Because it's paleo friendly, which means that there's very weird rules. So it's almond flour, arrowroot starch, organic coconut flour, and tapioca. Let me tell you, you cannot make a waffle with this. Things we have learned. But I think it would actually work pretty well for this because the tapioca I think is a big contributor to this. It's kind of gummy, so it makes like a gummy paste, which for a sauce is actually a good texture. You know, that's a good quality that I wouldn't mind having. So I think that's a good way to use this up. I've been also adding like a half cup or a quarter cup here and there to like baked goods just to continue to use it up, and it cuts my good flour so that I'm not wasting my good gluten-free flour. So this was 1 tablespoon. My tablespoon is dirty, so I'll use a half tablespoon. Measure. My weird gummy flour. Okay. So adding flour and water to various sauces is just a good way to thicken stuff up. So that's delightful and familiar. A couple more minutes left on this. It's cooking down. I'm actually liking how this is looking. It's clear that mine has a lot of leaf fragments. I probably could have pulverized it for longer, but I'm fine with this as a result. And the tomatoes are kind of falling apart, and so that I think is an indication I did do this wrong, because in the original video you can see that there were still chunkos, and she mentions she wants it cooked but not mushy. So I believe we went to mushy when I was busy setting my apartment on fire. Oh well, I'm sure it'll still be yummers. I'm not too concerned. So a couple more minutes left on this guy. Okay, so I have my... Actually, can I just add... Mix some flour, add the spinach, also add the cream. I should probably do those separately. Mix well cook for 5 minutes, add more water if needed. The cream, if I recall, yeah, it's 1/3 cup. Get that out while I'm waiting. Other thing I'm buying in bulk these days, all of the cream. I use it for everything. It's very good in coffee. Oh, I got your picture, Chardon Mom, but it's a little blurry, so if you have time to send a second picture, I would love that. Okay, so... we are at 5 minutes. This is cooked down a nice little bit here. I'm feeling good about that. But it is starting to dry out, so I think now is an appropriate time to add my flour water. This is another one I'm trying to add it slowly. I don't think it matters as much as with like the cheese steps, but you know, you're ready to go. So that is incorporated, and then get my 1/3 cup of cream. I keep forgetting I got all my measuring devices out, you know, to save myself from confusion, because I am smart. Oh well. Okay, so 1/3 cup. You know it's gonna be good when it's got cream in it. And like cream and spinach, man, that's a classic combo right there. So, yeah, that's starting to look like something I would buy in a restaurant, which is actually fairly cool. So, I have added all my spices. I've added the spinach. It's on low heat. Oh, now it's cooked for another 5 minutes. So that's 12:33. Wow, it's 38. So 12:38. We'll take that off. And then if needed, add a little more water. We'll see. And then the next step is to drain the paneer and fold it in. So let's take a look at how the paneer is working out. Put my faithful tortilla smusher back over there. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of whey that came out of that. Oh, it's a cute little dude. Okay, like already feeling good about this. Like, so that's a nice little disc shape. Let's get a little plate. Not the one I squished it on. I want a dry plate, I think. So. Oh wow, yeah, this is... Hey guys, this is starting to look like food. I'm actually really quite happy about that. Okay, so... Oh, this is so cute. I have this adorable little cheese. That is a cute little cheese. That came out real nice. Very satisfied with this. Chardon Mom, I don't know if you've checked yours yet. I hope yours is just as adorable. That is a nice little cheese. Alright. The original, this recipe expects you to use 1.5 cups of paneer. I doubt that's that much. Might be a little over a cup though, so I think it'll work out fine. And you're supposed to cube it, if I recall. Yeah, cubes of paneer. So I can do that while I'm waiting for everything else to cook up. This only has about 2 more minutes on it. I just, like, I cannot get over how cute this cheese is. That is adorable little guy. So, I'm going to chop this guy up real quick off camera so I don't have to move a bunch of stuff. But I'm cubing it, it's fine. Yeah, making cheese is fun. And obviously this is not an aged cheese. I'm not making cheddar. I do have a recipe for cheddar, but that kind of looks like whipped cream, but I don't know, so I'm not going to do that. Alright, so my little friend has chopped up there. Real happy with that. Pretty cool, actually. Chardon Mom has sent me pictures. Your cheese is so cute, and your sauce is looking delightful. So that's very exciting. Yeah, I'm just chopping up the whole thing. We're gonna call it the perfect amount because who cares about actual quantities? It's the perfect amount. So, you know, do it right. Yeah, and this sauce is looking like sauce. And has not been that splattery, so, you know, having an apron on is not necessarily a bad call, but I don't think I really needed it. I do want to add water. I remember, that guy's empty. The original recipe was like, no, you want it to be kind of wet, so move this stuff out of the way. I'll get a little more water in here, because you want it soupy. Palak paneer that I've always had is definitely something that if I put it onto my rice, it sinks into my rice. Which is, by the way, how we're going to serve this. So you can eat it with lots of stuff. There's like roti, various, you know, flatbreads and things of India. Again, we don't need a lot of gluten here, so it's going to be on rice. So I definitely want this a little moister. Try to put a smidge. looking real good, actually. We'll call that good. So I want it soupy. So I'm at cooking time, so I just want to have this heat up a little bit more before I add my paneer. Oh, hey Dave. Cool. If you're still on, what are you streaming today? Oh, sure, Mom, I think you saw it, yeah. But, oh, this looks really good. So for anybody who is new to Twitch and interested in trying new things, Dumpstat Dave is a friend of mine who does video game streaming predominantly. I don't know if he's doing it today. He also does painting of little miniatures and other such fun things. Oh, I'm so glad I added the water to this, by the way. Adding water was absolutely the right call. Okay. So I should actually go ahead and add my paneer now, since you're supposed to let it simmer for 5 minutes with that in. So I think this is looking good. I'm going to add my chunkos. Pretty happy about those guys. Let me adjust my camera a little bit there. Alright. And these are nice bite-sized pieces. They'll be good on a fork, you know. Okay. Yeah, no, this looks like something I would buy in a restaurant. Mine definitely has more of a leafy bits feel than I think the spinach one traditionally does, which I'm fine with as long as it's Yummers. I guess I don't care. But as soon as you add that paneer, and of course the glorious thing about paneer, which is why it's so good to have when you're eating Indian food, is it's cheese. So I just added chunks of cheese in here that are going to get melty and delightful. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, that looks pretty good, actually. I'm actually really glad it used the entire chunk of cheese. I think that ended up being pretty accurate. So I was filled with doubt, but I believe I was wrong to doubt. I don't trust in the original chefs. Oh, poo, I forgot to look at the exact time. Let's give it 3 more minutes. So it's currently 12:41. So at 12:44, I will consider that guy done. So I'm going to put some things back in the fridge-o. Seems like a good idea. And then my next stream next week, I haven't decided on what I'm going to make yet. So if anybody has any thoughts or preferences, you can tell me here or tell me later. I'm glad I did this, though. This was a friend who was on last week who got really excited and sent me this recipe and wanted me to make Palak Paneer, and I'm so glad I got talked into it because I've never done this. And it totally looks like food, and I like food, and that's all very exciting. So, cool. And yeah, my only other leftover, since I actually used all of the paneer, is 1/2 of a poblano, which will get used in anything. Tacos, scrambled eggs, whatever. That's the sort of thing, especially having a little one like that, I'll just throw that into whatever, and it's delightful. So, oh, I'm so happy with how that turned out. Okay. And then, yeah, the rest of this is good. So, at this point, we're just counting down. And actually, I didn't have lunch, and this time my lunch is actually ready. When I made the ratatouille, I made the mistake of it needed an additional hour to cook, which kind of negated its value for being my lunch. This guy, though, I'm going to be able to actually eat. So I'm going to get a bowl of rice, and I'm very excited about this. So, Chardon Mom, this is mostly for you because I know you like knowing what my various ceramics look like. So, I don't know how well the lighting shows up here, but I have these very nice deep bowls that I'm gonna totally eat this out of. So I cooked up the rice, or I shouldn't say Reed cooked up the rice earlier. For whatever reason, I have many skills when it comes to cooking, and I am an absolute failure when it comes to making rice. The middles don't cook, or I burn it, or whatever. That's okay, he doesn't know how to use super glue, so everybody's got their skill. Mine is not rice, and so this is rice that Reed made earlier. And so it is microwave, so I'm going to pop this in the microwave for just a second. Okay. I thought you'd like that bowl. I'm glad you like it. So one of the byproducts of this experiment is I bought asafoetida, which I've already can tell I like. And apparently it's a spice, according to I'm literally reading the container, it's native to southwestern Asia, so that's a lot, so okay. Whereas, like, this particular Palak Paneer is actually a North Indian dish, so that's, they're not mutually exclusive there. But, oh, this looks so actually good. Ooh, okay, my paneer is starting to fall apart just a little bit, and that looks real good. I am pleased by this. Warm enough. I didn't put the right type of rice on, so we don't have any basmati right now, so this is short grain. Which, whatever, it's rice. Alright, so I'm going to turn this guy off. I think this is done. I think this is food. I will... Alright, so like... That is a bowl of saag or Palak Paneer. I am real darn happy. So, Chardon Mom, are you wrapped up on your end? Did yours come out? I did see your picture of the finished one. So, after all this work, wow, it smells really greensy. Not shocking. And it's spiky. Very, very hot. Not surprising. Oh, yeah. Alright. Ooh, okay. So, using the heavier greens, using the kale and stuff, definitely changed the texture. But the flavor is real good. And the fact that we set off every single fire alarm doesn't seem to have particularly negatively impacted the food, which I'm pretty happy about. And you can see my little chunkos of paneer in there with the rice. The paneer is great. Yeah. Alright, this is a success. I think if I was going to change anything, like smidge of salt. Okay, so Chardon Mom, you're not eating it right now, that's fine. Yeah, this is totally my lunch. But, no, I'm real happy with this. I would make this again. I might not make the paneer every time. I can see just buying that and having it available. Which, no shame in that. But the sauce wasn't bad, and especially because I just had so many greens I needed to use, this was a great way to just blast out, which is why I actually made it. I was complaining about that last week when I was making ratatouille, and a friend of mine was pointing out that you're just basically blending piles of greens, and that's what I needed. Yeah, alright. So, there you go. We have successfully made Palak Paneer. I'm in fact really, really happy with that. My kitchen is a disaster. Don't look. Block all that. But this came out pretty well. So, I'm gonna call that a feed. That pretty much was 2 hours, which I'm pretty happy about. And then I'm happy to say that my glue jobs are doing their job. So it currently contains the old blender, but this was one of the things I glued earlier on Thursday. Pretty happy about that. My next Thursday feed, when I'm repairing things, I'm probably going to be epoxying stuff. I need new epoxy. My old stuff, I looked at it, I'm not happy with it, I'm going to throw it away. It's maybe 20 years old? I don't know. So I'm going to buy new epoxy. If I don't have a chance to do that, I have a bunch of wooden stuff that I need to glue. So I can do that. And then next Saturday is probably going to be my first taxidermy feat. I have wonderful people have been stepping forward with dead animals because I have so many friends, and so I do have stuff to prep. So I'm planning on doing that next Saturday in the evening. But yeah, so this was Palak Paneer. Thank you for watching. If you are not already a follower, please do follow me. That not only makes me feel real good, but then it will send you reminders or heads up when I'm on. I will always warn you if it's going to be something gross, so when I'm doing the taxidermy, I will let you know. So don't tune in if you're not into that, or super show up if you are, because it's really neat. But, and TBD, I do not know yet what I'm going to be making next Sunday, but I'll make something cool, promise. So, alright, thanks guys, this was fun, I'm really happy. Oh yeah, sure, Mom wants to know who's cleaning my kitchen. Yeah, it's me. I'm not going to make you guys watch that, it's not fun. But, alright, I'm going to go eat my lunch. Thank you for hanging out, and I'll see you guys next time.